Hey everyone, EG here. So I'm going to talk today about the 7 things that I miss the most about being back in the US, being home in quotes, because I don't really have a home anymore to go back to, but it's the things I miss the most. And I don't mean the only one that's going to be a little thing is the last one. It's going to be like something very specific. The other categories are larger categories of like what I miss. You'll understand as I get into it. The first thing, the first category that I miss is what I call comforts. And I have a friend that coined this phrase. I did not coin it. It's one of my good friends. And he basically talks about how, especially as you get older, you really need your comforts. And I know what he means, because what that means is you are used to your surroundings, you're used to having the things around you that bring you comfort, that make you more comfortable. You're familiar with, your bed and how you sleep on your bed, and you have all the things in your medicine cabinet you need, and you have, all the things in your kitchen that you need to cook or whatever. It's having your comforts around you so that everything is close by. You know what to do. You don't have to really think about things. You just are comfortable. And that is one thing when you're slow traveling, as I am basically, you don't have. And if I was on a quick trip, it would be different. If I was just on a 2-week trip or 3-week trip, anybody can withstand any kind of lack of comfort during that time, because you're going back home. I don't have any idea when I'm going to feel those comforts again, because even when I go back to the US, probably in October for a while at least, I'm not going to have a place to live. I may be living out of a van. I may be going from place to place. I don't know what I'm going to be doing, but I'm still not going to have those comforts. So there's no foreseeable end in sight to this. And this is probably one of the biggest things that I miss, and that causes stress for me. The second thing is just having convenience. And it's related to comforts, but it's a little different. Let me explain what convenience means to me. So it means like if I need to get something, I first of all know where I can get it, know that it's going to be what I need to get, and it's not going to take a lot of time or effort to do that. So for instance, I'll give you an example of what was inconvenient, and still is actually. I've been trying to find salt at the store. Now, you would think salt would be at any grocery store, wouldn't you? But no, there's a little market that I've gone to for other things here. And 2 main things that I noticed they are lacking at this store are, number 1, bread. They have no bread. And maybe because there's like a bakery thing, like couple of doors down, that sells bread and other things. I don't know. But this particular store, I've never seen a grocery store that didn't have like any bread in it. But I went in looking for salt, because with my whole dental thing going on and potentially, hopefully, my tooth being extracted, I'm going to need salt. And there wasn't any here at this Airbnb. There might be at my next one, I hope. Fingers crossed, salt. But I went in the store and I looked everywhere. I looked in the spices. I looked in like where the salt and flour would be, thinking it would be there. I couldn't find salt. And they don't have hardly any staff in there. And my experience of it is their staff doesn't speak English. So, I tried a couple times and I thought, that's just weird that they don't have salt. I mean, I looked up the word for it. I know what it should look like. I couldn't find salt. And what's even stranger is that I've noticed at restaurants that I go to, there's no salt and pepper shakers on the table at all. And I'm not a person that normally adds that stuff when I eat out, so it's not a big deal to me. But sometimes you need salt. So that's a convenience thing. It's like, where is the freaking salt? Now, so it's an example of the lack of convenience, that it's really, and just the whole thing about even, I'm not going to go into the whole dental thing in this video, but even that is a lot less convenient and easy to just manage and schedule and figure out than it would be in the US. So the convenience, that's a hard one for me. The third thing I miss the most is what is familiar. And again, this is a little related to comforts, but it's also a little different. And I'll give you an example. When you are used to living in the same place for a while, you know what's around you and you know where you can go for certain things, but you also just know it's like a good feeling to know that you can go to a place that you're familiar with. Like, I'll use Starbucks as an example. In the town I was living in, they had this one Starbucks. Technically, they had two because they had one at the Safeway. But anyway, and Starbucks was familiar to me. It was a familiar, comfortable place to go. So in a way, it was kind of part of my comforts, but not in my living space. It was outside of that. So I put it in this other category of what is familiar. And I used to go there probably 3-4 times a week, like every other day, sometimes a couple days in a row, and just have a green tea and enjoy. If the weather was nice, sit outside. If it was cold, sit inside, watch the sparrows outside, talk to people in there. It was familiar. And because it was familiar, it was very soothing. It was very relaxing to me. So I miss the things that are familiar. Now, of course, every place I go on this trip, and if I'm there for a while, I do get used to some things around me. Like, I found a couple of restaurants that I liked nearby where I am right now, and those became kind of familiar to me while I'm here. Of course, now I'm moving to another part of town, so I'll have to get used to new places. So it's not always the same places, but I do try to develop kind of a sense of what the kind of places I like, and if I enjoy a place, then I go back. So that's enjoying what is familiar. I miss that. The next thing is having a routine. When you're traveling, it is really hard to have a set routine depending on what's going on. Like on a travel day, for instance, the routine goes out the window. And what I mean by routine is when you get up in the morning, there's certain things you do. Like when I was in the US and had a home, had a place to live, I basically would get up in the morning, I'd probably be online for a little bit, and then I'd take a shower, and after I took a shower, I would meditate. And usually before that, I would actually have something light to eat, like some yogurt or banana or something like that. And then I would meditate, and then I would get dressed, and then I would, go about my day. Like if I had to get out, I would go out and do things. If I was just going to stay home, then I would just, do whatever I was going to do at home. I've noticed one thing I've had to change, and probably it will continue that way, is I no longer meditate in the morning. I meditate in the afternoon. Now, the reason for that is because in the morning, especially as things are really hot here, I like to go out before it gets too hot, and I want to get out before it gets too hot. So if I meditate in the morning for an hour, that kind of throws a wrench in that for me, because I don't get up super early. I get up usually by around 8 or so. So for me, I really need to take a shower, get out, do things I need to do, and then get back before it gets really hot in the afternoon. And then I have been meditating. I did start doing meditation again. I think I went a whole week without meditating when I was switching from France to then the UK and then here. I think the whole time I was in the UK, I only meditated one time. So I really felt that was not good for me. So I'm really determined to establish some sense of routine. And I really think that, it's a lot harder when you're on the road. The next thing is feeling settled. Again, it relates to the first thing, which is about comforts, but it's the idea of when you're traveling, even if you're in a place for a month, you don't feel settled because you're going to be moving on. You know that it's only temporary. Even if it's 4 weeks, you still know it's temporary. And for some reason, that just instills a different mentality, my mindset in you. And well, it does for me. Maybe it doesn't for everybody, but it certainly does for me. And it really is unsettling, literally. Like, it's not feeling settled, it's unsettling. Yeah. And I was talking to a friend about that the other day. I said, you know, I just feel so unsettled. Now, if I knew, if I had a place, if I got like a regular apartment and I knew I was going to stay in it for at least 6 months, I might feel a little differently. But you know, the longest I've been in one place was like 7 weeks when I was in Perpignan. And so that never felt totally settled, even at 7 weeks. So I think it would take longer for me to feel more settled somewhere. Ideally, more like a year, to be honest with you. I just, for some reason, don't settle in easily, and maybe some people do, but I don't. And so feeling unsettled, it's something that I used to embrace a lot more than I do now that I'm older. And I didn't realize till I went on this trip how that was going to feel. So I miss feeling settled. I really do. And it's one of the things I dread about potentially going back to the US and having to stay and possibly having to live out of a van again, because when I lived out of a van, feeling unsettled was one of those things too. And I just like a home base. You know, I like having a place to go back to that I know is my place. And then I can go out and explore and, you know, do things and still have a place to come back to. So I know that about myself. I'm not sure how I'm going to make that happen, but I'm working on it. Okay, there's just a couple of things left. The last two things, well, the first one is communication. Ease of communication. Because unless you're going to an English-speaking country and you're an English speaker, there's always going to be challenges with communication. Now, believe it or not, in some ways, Albania has been easier than France. And I say that as someone who speaks like partially I speak French. It's because in France, although a lot of people in certain areas, like not in Perpignan, but in Dijon they did, a lot of people spoke English. It always felt like they did so begrudgingly sometimes, like they didn't really want to speak English, but they kind of did. Well, what I've noticed in Albania is that there are people that just don't speak English, or they will tell you, you know, I don't speak English, or no, you know, like they'll kind of wave it off or whatever. But the people that even do, they actually just seem to be happy to try out their English with you. Like it doesn't seem to be a begrudging thing. So ironically, although I speak nothing of the language here, in some ways it's been easier. When I go to a place, the first thing I do is say hello, because that is a thing that they'll even do in Albania, is they'll say like hello. And so I say hello first. It's kind of like my version of bonjour. And then they'll get it that I probably speak English, and then they'll, you know, kind of, you know, say whatever they can to me, and which is great. And a lot of the younger people, it is true, the younger people I've met, more of them speak English than the older people. I've only had, most of the taxi drivers I've had have been older, and only a couple of them have spoken English like okay, basically. But I found that even when they don't speak English, they do try. Like they try to make an effort. And so in some weird ways, it's almost felt more comfortable to just own it that I'm an English speaker. Sorry, I don't speak your language. And they do what they can. And like I was in an elevator the other day when I went to the mall. I was in an elevator at the store that I got my clothes at. And the lady got on the elevator with me who was Albanian, and she must have thought I was Albanian because she just started speaking to me in Albanian, and I just looked at her and I said, I'm sorry, I don't speak Albanian. And then she went, oh, she goes, English? and she was like a middle-aged lady. Her eyes lit up and she said, I speak some English. And I said, thank you. And then she said a couple of things to me I don't remember, but she was very nice. And when the elevator door opened, she said, after you. Like, she was really cute. So little things like, and I don't remember people in France being that happy about speaking English. Do you know what I'm saying? So So I appreciate the emotion behind it here. And but let's get back to the crux of the matter. It is difficult being in another country when you don't speak the language. It really is. Or when you don't even speak the language well enough. You know, in France, I never felt that uncomfortable, just a few occasions, like when I had the dental problem going on and I really didn't know how to, you know, wouldn't have known how to speak to the doctor if he hadn't spoken English, kind of thing. Or if I got really upset, like the day I got stranded by the bus. You know, when you get upset, when I get upset, I really just can't think in the other language because I'm not fluent at this point. So, but when you don't speak any of the language, like here, it's very surreal because you're out all day and you realize you don't have really anyone to talk to, like even if you wanted to, unless I met somebody else who was English speaking. And so it's a little more isolating even than it was in France, a little bit. So that's a challenge. And, you know, again, if you only do that on a 2 or 3 week trip, it's not so bad. If you're doing that, you know, I'm about halfway through this trip. If I really do go back to the US the beginning of October, I am about halfway through. And I can tell you that the communication thing is hard. It's really challenging. And I'm probably going to look into doing a little bit of, like, I'm sure there's some YouTube channels that offer some Albanian that maybe I can pick up a bit more. You kind of have to hear it spoken. I can't just, and they don't have it on Duolingo. So I'll see what I can do to, you know, I only learned one word, falaminderet, which means thank you. And I have used that a couple of times. So, but I've got to learn at least a few phrases, because at least I'll feel like I'm being polite. It's not an easy language, I can tell, just because the words are really like, they're very long. And there's a lot going on there in the word. So it's not going to be easy. And if I knew I was going to live in Albania eventually, then obviously I would, you know, study more of the language at some point. But yeah, the communication, it's a challenge. Now, the last thing I'm being really picky about, this is the tiny thing. Those were big categories of things that I miss. But this last thing, I am so bummed out that I did not get more of this when I was in London. Because I bought some other over-the-counter medications, but I did not buy any more paracetamol. This is paracetamol. It goes by, it's like the brand name or whatever on this one. But this was from France, actually. And these are capsules, which are really easy to swallow. Now, I don't know about you, but I have trouble swallowing big pills. Now, if they're elongated big pills, I can do it. If they're a round big pill, I really have problems. Like, it just chokes up my throat and then it gets stuck and, oh, it's awful. So I should have bought more of these in France, or should have gotten them in the UK. I thought, oh, of course they're going to have paracetamol in Albania. That's like, it's Europe's version of Tylenol. Of course they're going to have that. So here I've gone to several pharmacies. I've asked for paracetamol. They have these big round pills. And the only other, they don't carry capsules at all. And a couple of pharmacists, and they speak English. The pharmacists usually speak English here. They've said to me, you will not find capsules here. And if I can't find capsules in Tirana, which is the capital, I doubt they're anywhere in Albania. So I would have to go to another country to get them. And this one really bothers me because I usually end up taking Tylenol almost like one pill every day kind of thing. I have fibromyalgia, and I also just have, of course, with this dental thing and just things that have been going on with my mouth, I have discomfort. So I'll usually just take one. I don't take a lot of it. But I'm used to taking something, and I'm used to just, it's not that hard to find this, but it is here. So I'm kind of freaking out because I'm down to about 2 weeks worth of these, and then I'm finished. And I'm not gonna be able to swallow the round pills. The only other option I've got here is they have, and I did try this, they have a liquid version. I guess they give it to kids. I actually got a little packet of that. I tried it, and oh my God, it tasted so bad. Oh, so bad. I thought, I can't do this. The other thing they have is an effervescent version, which you can dissolve it in water and drink it. Now, I have not tried that, so I'm probably trying that next because I can't do the round pill. These are big, I mean, big round pills, guys. I can't do it. So I know that looked a lot bigger because I was... So don't get on me about the pills. I have a pill thing. It's amazing I can swallow like elongated pills pretty much without a problem. But yeah, I can't do it. I can't do the round pill. And I said to the pharmacist, I said, I don't understand why they only come in round. Like if they just had elongated, I would be fine. And she said, I know. It's apparently other people have probably said that too. So yeah. So one of those things I absolutely cannot get in Albania. And yeah, it's a frustration because it's not easy even to get a package into Albania. I mean, first of all, I'd have to be at an address that I'm going to be at for a while, which won't happen till my third Airbnb. And then I've heard mail gets really delayed coming here. So even if I had somebody else send me this from even somewhere else in Europe, and you know, I could obviously pay them for doing that. Yeah, it's a thing. So I'm a little frustrated about that. And I miss that. It goes back to the convenience and the comforts and everything else, you know, but it's the Tylenol substitute problem is what it is. So, yeah. So that's it for the things I think I went through 7 things that I miss the most about being back in the U.S. And it's not a typical, you know, like I said, it's not real specific about most things except the Tylenol substitute. But that's how my brain works, is that I think in terms of like the bigger picture of what I miss. And a lot of things are all, you know, rolled into each of those. So, yeah, that's what I miss halfway through this journey before I get back to the U.S. I tell you, the one thing I will enjoy about being back in the U.S. is having all those things, not all of them, because I still won't have a set place to live probably. So I'll still be missing some of those, but it will be easier. That some things will definitely be easier. So yeah, I just thought I'd share that today. So let me share with you a really cute thing that happened this week to kind of close this out. So I was coming back from the dentist on Tuesday where I did have my tooth cleaned. That was fine, but it actually went fine, but it didn't really make much difference in the tooth. That tooth is dying, I know that, and I got to get it pulled, but they didn't seem real eager to make an appointment for me with the oral surgeon, so I don't know if I'm going to have to go somewhere else for that or not, but I'm waiting until I move tomorrow to my other Airbnb before I decide where to, you know, where to go. So anyway, I was coming back from there, and I had to walk a ways for a taxi because they have taxi stands in this town. It's usually really convenient to get a taxi. You don't have to hail one on the street or anything. They have taxi stands where you can go up to a driver and say, you know, I need a ride, and you know. It took me a while to actually find a taxi stand. There were a couple that didn't have taxis in them, amazingly. So I did go up the street a little bit, and this older guy, probably in his 50s, not as old as I am, but older guy was standing there, and I went up to him and I said, hello, and I said, I showed him my address, I have it written down, and I said, I need a ride there, and he spoke a little English, which was nice. So we get in the cab, and I notice immediately that he has like music stuff in the front of the cab. Like he has these little sunglasses on the dashboard that have like pictures of Elvis in the, you know, like where the lenses are. And then he's got a little guitar thing hanging from his rearview mirror. So I did say to him, I said, oh, do you play guitar? And then he goes, I sing. And then he goes, I sing in Albanian. And I go, oh, that's great. And then he asked me, he said, do you play guitar? I said, yes. And I said, and I sing. And I said, but I sing in English. So then it's like he had it in his CD player in his vehicle. He turns on this CD of him singing American songs in Albanian. It was a crack up. The first song was Peggy Sue. and he was singing it in Albanian. And then he played, and he was singing along with himself on the CD. It was so, he was actually a good singer. So I'm not laughing at his singing ability. He was a good singer. But it's just that he was so proud of himself that he was singing. And so the whole way back to my place, I got treated to Albanian versions of Elvis Presley and Buddy Holly, and somebody else he did too. He sang about like 6 songs all the way back. So anyway, it was cute. He was very sweet. And so I thanked him very much and said, your singing is very good. And but it was nice. You know, it's like, what a surreal thing to happen. You're in like a completely part of the world you never expected to be in, and people, you don't know the language. And then he was an Elvis fan. So they are literally everywhere. They literally are. So that's my good story for the day. Anyway, until next time, be kind always and keep moving forward. Take care. Bye.